Hello, and welcome to 30 Years of Tresor. With me, I have Regina Bear and Dimitri Heyman, and we're going to have a little chat about the beginnings of this wonderful institution. So, Dimitri, first of all, let's set the scene. Yeah, like 30 years is a long time, but you've been here for longer than 30 years in Berlin. So you're like me, I arrived in 1978. I came here to buy some records and I never left. But what about you?
Actually, I got the same year to Berlin and I got stuck here. And I came from a small village and Berlin showed me the night, and I discovered the night. And
Why did you come to Berlin though?
I came to two reasons. First, I came because of the studies, and secondly, I left my village because nothing was going on, It was quite boring, and I was looking for something that I liked, and I liked Berlin because I've seen it before. I saw friends and years before, and I felt good because I met people. I thought they understand me, and my village was too small for my big ideas.
Did you have to go to the army?
Yes, actually they caught me in the very end. I did not know. We were in my village. We were not informed that there was a chance. If you on time, when you were 17 and got registered in West Berlin, you had not to join the army. So I thought I could change the world even if I'm in the army, but I refused to join the army. It was possible, but you had to pass a few very difficult interviews, And I failed in the first meetings, and then also in the second meeting, and then they caught me, And later on, after about 10 months staying in the army, I could leave.
And then you came here.
Yes, that was stupid, So I lost like 10 or 12 months my life. And the army was a serious problem, for many,
Well, most young men that I met here, they'd all fled to Berlin to escape going to the army.
Yeah, it was also a reason many bands, didn't make it because the singer or the guitar player had to go to the army, when you were 18, 20 years old, Then.
But Regina, you didn't have to go to the army, did you?
No. I came to Berlin in 1986 from Hanover. And my reason was I just dream of Berlin. I just want to be in Berlin. And so I look for a study and just to hide away, far away from Hanover. Hanover is just 300 kilometers away now, but you remember East Berlin, it was a really long way. It was more than 5 hours or longer to get back. And so it was far away, it was an island, and it was secret, and my island, and yes, I love to be in Berlin.
What did you think of Berlin when you came here? Because for me, it was like nothing else I'd ever experienced before. It was a completely derelict-looking city.
Yes, that was the reason why.
And it was attractive for that reason, I think.
Yes, it was attractive because of this island status, and it was creepy and ugly and dusty and not like Hanover.
Shiny, clean West Germany.
No.
Yeah, I think also I really felt great because you were so anonymous here, Nobody knew you, and in my village, when something went wrong, everybody looked at me, and said he was involved. But now it was great, and the Hinterhofs, and it was like Regina said, it was far away from my village, and it was. I felt great in this kind of rotten spaces, I said this is something I really was looking for. And I knew my parents will never show up because my father was in war and he was a prisoner till till early 50s, 1950, and so he didn't trust the Russians. So I said, "You will never see me in Berlin." So, they expect a lot of, documents from the university, and it was.
So it was a good place to escape to and be
Yeah.
yourself, find yourself.
Yes, I mean, definitely, I must say, the city developed me by and by, because there were so many new things for me. But the main thing was for me always is discovering the night, this darkness.
We shared a practice room together in Schöneberg, and you were in a band at that time, yeah?
Yes.
Leningrad Sandwich.
Right.
What brought you to become a entrepreneurial kind of concert promoter, if you like, really? Because you did your first kind of gig, so not as a performer, but as someone to put something on. What was your first event?
My first events, we had this band called Leningrad Sandwich. I wanted, when I was young and in West Germany, I wanted to become like a rock musician, being on tours. But I was not a good musician, And anyway, I tried out, and then later on, I changed the position from stage behind the stage, But the first show you asked for, we played the music hall 2 nights, I remember the posters outside. They were really impressed, even Berliners. The poster said, the Russians coming, Die Russen kommen, And yeah, I mean, the show was okay, but somehow we failed. We had a good band, but I left the band also and cared about the band. I made a mistake. I bought a car, a van. So the band always said he will do, So I cared about the gigs and the driving and the tour. But I changed, I think, early 80s when I discovered the Genius Dilettantes, and started the festival Berliner Tonne in 82.
Yeah, with which I played at.
Yes, you were there.
Yeah. And that was really the kind of like beginning of I think to open your mind really to like the opportunities that this city kind of provided within the space of this kind of closed city, really surrounded by a wall. It gave you like the inspiration, I think, to do other things.
Yeah, definitely. The city and especially the people, it was the first time that I met, I can say, my people, even if I didn't know them. So I thought, wow, these people, I have a good feeling, And I talked to different people in the university also, I studied musicology, and they had similar backgrounds, They came from the village, they escaped, they came to Berlin. And we had a great professor who wrote books with the students, about rock history. And so it was the years when trends like punk came up, And I'm a curious person, I was always curious and was open for different trends. When I came to Berlin, I came with the early Cure and Joy Division for 4 beat, And as I said before, then I discovered different styles, with these bands like Collapsing New Buildings or these names like Sprung aus den Wolken and Die Unbekannten, where you were playing. That found my interest a lot, And I thought I should bring them all on stage, and I tried this. And one guy from your country, this famous DJ, John Peel, he promoted it. I did not know, and it became a big success. That was a festival in Esso 36, 3 days, and it was like a musical supermarket, all different styles there and weird. But I liked that, and so something changed, from stage behind the stage.
And then it went from there, like over as the Analogue kind of like developed, but also the music scene itself developed.
Yes, but in the beginning I just worked with Berlin groups, locals, and then in the next year I brought some international bands to Berlin, like Psychic TV or Test Department, and it was always an adventure. After the festival Berliner Tonne, like the next day already, I had to start again giving school lessons, because we always lost money, or I had to paint posters on the walls for some promoters, But we had a lot of passion, to do these festivals. And
but you didn't learn this job, though.
yeah,
It was something. It wasn't something that you
Yeah,
go
it
to
was a
school.
process, learning.
You just did it.
yeah, but
You had
I
the
had to
idea.
learn more years and more because we never understood what is brutto and what is netto. Money never matter, somehow. But I'm happy that we could realize these things, and it was not easy, even in Berlin, to find spaces, to do this. And but we really enjoyed that in those days. And this was an event you really worked 1 year for it, and finally. We did it. I did the festival till 1990. 5 times, and then something different came.
Yeah, but before then, you'd already started to dabble with electronic music. Like I remember, when you opened the first acid house club in
the UFO club
cellar of Achim Kohlberger's flat.
Yeah, with Achim. And the thing was, the Tonal Festival presented music and musical projects, and the Berliners were just standing there and said, "Hey, give us some entertainment. That's strange. That's weird." They never moved, never danced, And then this thing from the UK swept over, the acid house music, and we thought, what is it, You must understand, no internet in those days, What is it? So it came with a big delay, like 1.5. And some promoters, and we also started parties with DJs from Berlin, but also some UK DJs who played this music, acid house. And this was a new thing. People start dancing, start to move their bodies. And the setting was very simple, No lights, just a strop, a lot of smoke and a kicking sound system. That was it. And we set up a few parties in different places, and then later we found a basement in our own Dada club called Fish Bureau. In the basement, we started the UFO club. Yeah. That was in West Berlin still, 88, 87, 88. And that was also in the days when I got in touch with this band from Sheffield, Clock DVA, And I started a small label, and we released the first 12-inch by Clock DVA. It was kind of a sophisticated electronic music from Sheffield, the city where all the great bands come, Human League, Cabaret Voltaire, Heaven 17, and so. And this music, we put it out on a small independent label, Interfish. And I got a call from America, far away, never been there, from Chicago, and they said, "We like your music," a label, Wax Tracks, Jim Nash, the owner. I said, "Yes, you can use it for the US, but I come over, and I want to see, to see you and to what you're doing. I want to explore Chicago." So I went over with this tape, really nice person, and I was in his office, so I had a four-day stay. I didn't know what to do. And the second day, I had a big box with all these demo tapes, and said, "You can have all this shit, we don't release it, So I grabbed into this box, took one cassette out, and said, it was a vinyl, like a white label, I remember. White label out, and I saw on the label 313 already, phone code from Detroit. I played it, it was this group Final Cut, and I liked it. And I said, wow, this is something for our small label in Berlin. And I called this number, and on the other line were a guy called Tony, and he was a member of this group, and another member of this group was Jeff Mills, So I had this connection to Detroit.
Should we play this song just a little bit so people can hear what it was? This was one
what
of
it was
the first things that you released, yeah? Oh, it's the wrong song. Sorry.
Wow.
Wait, this is the wrong.
Yes, you can. You can hear Detroit machine halls. That was for me, the Motor City music, the rough rhythms, very rough. And when we compare, maybe here, Mark, you can play a track by DVA. That was more, sophisticated. It was more finer. They already used a Mac 2000 computer, one of the first Macs, and listen to this. It's called Sonology of Sax. Yeah, I see Paul Browse in the studio, developing fine tunes. But this was actually the music before techno made it, and it was, I don't know what it was exactly, between something EBM or industrial. And these groups came to the last Atoll in 1990, a very few months after the wall came down. And exactly a year later, like 1991, in March, Jeff left this project, Final Cut, and started with his friends, Mike Banks, Underground Resistance, and Robert Hood. And and they said they have something, and we found a special spot in Berlin for our music, and that was this legendary space in
the wall had come down at this point.
Yeah.
And left this vast space of like untouched places, really. They'd been like left for 40 years, empty places, right?
It was located between the two infamous walls, in the Niemandsland, very close to the east part. So Eastern people from East Berlin haven't had any access to it. And I met Regina, on the Grüne Woche, on the Green Woche. In January, was it 91? Yeah,
91.
And, because we always did some crazy stuff, so those days I just had developed with friends space beer, because we thought we heard about commercial holidays in outer space, and I said, if we do it, and take off in outer space, we need a drink. So we developed space beer and a dance, moon dance, So then I was looking, because the people liked space beer, I was looking for a producer. And I knew on the Grüne Woche, Green Week, it was a fair. And there were different halls. And in one hall, the American hall, there were producers for beer. So I was looking into this. Do I find somebody like Miller or so who will have this idea buy this idea from space beer? And I met Regina. She was selling vitamin drinks, for
smoothies.
Back in the day, smoothies. And I asked her, I said, she's a great woman. Maybe she's a student. She looks for a job after the Grüne. And we changed addresses. And finally, she came and called weeks later. Not weeks, a few days. And also in this period, with friends Achim and Johnny, the friends, found this very special spot, this old vault. And I showed it to Regina. She liked this place, and I said, "Can you develop a club here? I have a band. They call the Space Cowboys. They have no jobs and no money. They will help you. Go ahead, And then she started.
How old were you, Regina, then?
I was 23.
So it's not an easy kind of thing to be suddenly thrown into this job.
Nothing before to do with build something. I just want to study German or technical history. It was my job before, and Dimitri is right. I was looking for a new job, and I said, how can you think that I'm the right person for it? And he said, have you got a driving license? I said, yes. Okay, you are the one. You are the one. Here are the Space Cowboys, and you can write, and you can You can think, and I think you are the right person to do it now. And there, over there, there's a DJ. Over there is the bar. I see it, and I saw it. I say, okay, we do it. And so we started. We start to build.
And I mean, you must understand this was a space, it was untouched for 45 years, you know. It was the safe of a vault of a Jewish bank house, you know. And there were no connection, no water, no electricity, you know, nothing, you know, not even an emergency exit. And so, but we were so fascinated by this interior, you know. Wow. It was a very, very special impression when we all got in, you know. We went in every day. We didn't say anything when you got in. Wow, you were under shock, you know, when you saw this everything.
Just with a lighter.
With a
you
lighter.
Go downstairs just with a light. No.
Yeah, you saw this the lockers, you know, and the steel, and it was quiet.
Like this behind you.
Yeah, something like that, you know. And
Not
each
something.
of this
This is
lockers
original.
had the number, you know, for a cassette. Is one life of a family or a person, you know. Most Jewish who maybe were, you know, we don't know what happened to them, but it was in the 20s, and in the 30s the Nazis took over, and we really don't know. And then they took over the building also. It was one of the biggest department stores of their time.
Yeah.
And after the war, it was because it was located in the east part of Berlin. Berlin was divided in 4 sectors, and the east part did belong to the Russian and became also the capital of East Germany. They bombed it away in the 50s. They could have saved it, but they bombed it away, you said, because they want to watch out who tries to escape, you know, and they build up the wall. And but they didn't, maybe they forgot the basement, you know. And that
Why the basement?
Wasn't
It was
important.
not interesting.
It wasn't important for them.
It was
the building on top was important, so
Yeah,
they got rid of it.
Yeah, and then Regina started, you know, she started to look for the plans, you know, where we can get water and where we can get electricity. And you were looking around in, you know, say something where you
Tell us a little bit about, you know, the discovery of, you know, like
No, the first today is our birthday, and
the first
we
day.
remember Dimitri was one of the best persons in. He did the first water pipe. Yes, because of our first the firma Hummel, Dimitri found in East Berlin and said, okay, we need water, please. We need it on I think the 13th of March, and please go for it. And they say, okay, no problem. And we came on I think at 11 or 12 o'clock, and wanted to look what, is it okay, is it done?
They
And
worked
there
for
was
2
no
months.
Firma Hummel,
Yeah.
and no water pipe, and nothing. And so we are looking for we go to look for a wrench to find something and put some water pipes together to have some water tonight, at the first night. And it was horrible. It was a nightmare. And Dimitri was...
I was great, actually, I must say. I
Yes.
had no idea how, you know, what we did finally. Hummel worked, I don't know, 2-3 months, and they didn't make it. 2 o'clock, they're all gone, you know, and it was the opening day. So what we did, we got to the Berlin Water Company and got a hydrant, you know, what you in the street, you know, and you stopped the traffic, I remember, and police helped you. We put the hydrant in the middle of Leipziger Straße, connected with a big pipe, you know, through the basement where I was lying down with a overall, you know. I don't like overall, but I was completely dirty and tried the big connection with a big pipe in a small.
Dimitri, it's a microphone.
And I didn't need this wrench, you know, this Warzange and gaffer tape, you know.
Ein Mikro.
And gaffer tape. Okay. Finally, I got somehow a connection, and then I called, please open the water, and then she opened the water in the street. Boom, you know, it came like in a flood, and upstairs, everywhere behind the bars, water, water. I said, and then we made this night, you know, and you were looking outside at 8 or 9, and there was standing a line already, you know, up to like hundreds. And the system, how it worked, that people found out about it, was also special, you know, the communication system.
There was no mobile phones or anything like that, no internet or anything like that. So
You remember this woman, Monica Dietl?
Monica Dietl, a radio show. She had on SFB, she had a radio show.
Right.
Yeah.
She announced something, but nobody said the address where it was, you know, because it was not legal, you know. It was not legal. And in those days, we had this feeling we can do what we want to do, you know, because there was less control. But Berlin had already since 49 no curfew, you know, so we could, the night was young, was open. And we had a new thing going on, you know. This was very new, you know.
There was no rules and regulations.
Yeah,
You know,
and
No, it was an atmosphere of anarchy, and East Berlin police, they
weren't bothered at all.
no, and West Berlin, they didn't come over, and so it was easy. It was easy. But Friedrichstraße was not so far away, and in the Friedrichstraße there are a police station, and so they came one night over and saw our hydrant and asked for, what is it? What is it? It's in the middle of the street. It was not really a street, it was just something, but it was a street. And so I said, oh, so sorry, but we have to be ready. It's really important because we have to work. You know, this is, and I don't know what history it was, but it was so good that they said, okay, no problem, and put some barks and some red white things
To stop the
around
traffic.
around it, so that the night was great for us.
you must understand, we used this water over months, you know. We had no connection with the water pipe. We just used this hydrant, you know, for the...
Eventually you had water.
Yeah.
Later on, then you got everything sorted.
We got it sorted, but I mean, after every night was a small flood came. But that didn't matter, you know.
Yeah.
You must understand, when we signed this deal also, the contract, it was for 3 months, I think, for 3 months. We did not know that it is going on, you know. We had no big plans. But this was the attitude in Berlin all over, you know. People started some business, but nobody cared, you know. And I believe when they came to the club that they came with no ideas and were so much inspired during their stay in the club and came out and said, wow, I'm encouraged, I want to do something like you guys do.
Yeah.
And they opened the next day, maybe also a bar or a gallery, you know.
Yeah, because after you opened Tresor, it was like everything started to happen here in that
it was
direction.
really like a beginning of a
Yeah.
movement,
Yeah,
you
it was
know.
like- we didn't really, you know, the UFO was kind of like the techno club, but it was we were a really small group of people who went to UFO. There wasn't like loads and loads of people went there.
Yeah.
And then, but the Tresor kind of opened up a different kind of like, especially for all the East kids who came from the East. I think that they were searching for something which didn't kind of have any connection to the old kind of regime, and so they came there and found something that they'd hoped for, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a common discovery of this music, not just some Western said, I look here, this. I did not, nobody knew that it will really work, you know, but kids from East and from West Berlin, they loved it, East Germany, West Germany, and then
Just
also...
new for all of them, and so it was okay.
Also from Detroit, you know,
Yeah.
the music from Detroit, we liked that, so Black and White came together. It was a very symbolic step, you know, in the middle, in the center of the city Berlin, you know, in an old Jewish warehouse where we don't know where all these people went, and now this new energy came in, you know, And for 3 months, but we didn't care. Today, nobody would do this, you know. We just had a sound system, we rented, and 2 lamps, and that's it.
And we
Yeah,
were all
but-
kind of, we all
But
felt
the
kind of
sound
free.
system on the upstairs was very small.
In the first weeks, we had a
Low-
ghetto blaster, because we conquered more rooms. You know, we just broke the walls. But in the beginning, we had a smaller room upstairs. We played acid jazz. You know,
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
acid jazz. You know, and downstairs that was a space for this new thing, and it
a real
was not.
motivator, I think, for the Easter kids, because they didn't, you know, the music didn't have any kind of complicated lyrics that they had needed to understand, and that's why it was so. And it was new. It didn't have any connection to DDR or East Germany, you know. So,
Yeah,
so
I believe that the music, like the second generation from Detroit, like Underground Resistance people, Blake Baxter and you know One, and so they had music. They offered music without words, you know, no messages, no "Baby, I love you," also in just nothing, and that also found interest everywhere, you know. Also, the people who didn't speak English, even many people from East countries came over, you know, by buses. The border was open, you know. And what was also new that, I mean, for me as a hippie who had seen already the influence of Woodstock Festival, you know, the values of Woodstock, the peace movement, you know, the green ideas, the community, all these things came up again, these kind of values, you know. So I was prepared.
Yeah, well, we were like, but after the wall came down, it was like the Cold War seemed to end. This kind of like threat of communism, you know, versus capitalism, the threat of nuclear war and things like this had all kind of lifted from our shoulders, and it gave us a real. I think that was really a motivator for us, actually.
Yeah, we were in a. I don't know how to say. You know, in '89 the wall came down. We opened in March '91. This 1 year between 1990 and it was still East GDR, you know.
Yeah.
This 1 year till October 3rd, 1990. Then the states signed a deal, the contract. But this was really crazy. I mean, I could not understand the same like COVID today. I don't understand, you know, what's going on, you know. And those days were really changed so much, you know.
Did you think, especially you, running the club, do you think that techno would last so long, 30 years? I mean, like, you know, when we were growing up as kids, I think, you know, music seemed to last, like trends seemed to last for like 3 or 4 years, and then they kind of faded and became something else. Whereas like techno started like the end of the 80s and still kind of like.
I asked Dimitri in the first time, Dimitri, what do they think? How long will it take? And Dimitri said to me, well, I don't know, but I'm sure it will be a long time, maybe a niche, I don't know, but it will be still there in more than 30 years.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's over now. We're on at the edge. No, I really think that this new thing, you know, this getting together in dark rooms, you know, and no lights and this incredible sound systems and this narcoticum, you know, this acoustic narcoticum, really helped a lot of people, you know, to free themselves, you know,
discover
to dance,
themselves,
you know?
as well.
Yeah, in the smoke, and that was so. The visit in the club was like visiting a doctor, therapy, you know. It was great. They came out, and there was nobody who said, "Now it's finito, it's over," you know.
But now we have a situation whereby it is over.
It is now.
It's been
over.
forced upon us, you know.
And we don't know what's going on, you know.
You know.
But let's look back a little bit more about this impact, you know, what happened then. We remember all the Love Parade, you know, the early years of the Love Parade, starting 89, 90s, that attracts so many people to Berlin. So this images
Millions.
of fall of the wall and the young people dancing in the streets, that were incredible images that changed the DNA of Berlin completely, you know. And brought so many people over, young people and new business, you know, airlines, hostels, and everybody brought an idea. You know, everybody brought an idea to the clubs, to Berlin, and Berlin became the image of the capital for electronic music. So a lot of DJs moved here, you know.
It definitely is, yeah. I mean, it's seen around the world as being the kind of birthplace for this global.
And then,
movement.
you know, I start asking myself, why did it happen here? You know, and this is why did it happen in a city like Berlin? And it was the rules and the frame we had, you know,
24
and the
hours.
consciousness also since years very critical, you know, since the 60s, and so that for me it was the first time that subculture movement helped a city to develop, helped the city development, and without, you know, the politician didn't realize what was going on. We had, after 15 years of Tresor in 2004, we had to leave. They still didn't realize how important our work was. You know, they didn't
Our
value
impact
it,
was, yes.
and they kicked us out. They sold it for us to build their stupid, boring bureau office, you know, office building, and now slowly they understand that this movement, you know, that has created established so many jobs also, you know, it's institution and an image for the city.
Not to mention the amount of money that it's generating, this club scene in Berlin, you know, like what 1.4 billion euro or something like this, you know.
We have I don't know, I spoke a few days ago with somebody from the club commission. They have 120 clubs or more. Imagine, and 9,000 people working here, and they made also study that all these clubs generate a turnover because of additional business, hotel, hostels, you know, airline, of 1.5 billion, you know, euros.
It's a lot for a city.
An economic force.
Yeah, it's a lot for a city. You know, for any city to generate so much money. You know.
So we could be proud of this.
Yeah, I think you know, like 30 years of techno and 30 years of Tresor. You know, that's an incredible achievement. I think, you know.
I think also it's an achievement, and it's not so funny. And now people also in politics understand this is culture. You know.
Yeah.
It's a culture. People love it to go out, to go clubbing. You know, it is not like being in a crazy venue taking pills and and being mad. No, it's a real culture what the people like, and it's not just Berlin; it's everywhere.
And now we're missing it. You know,
we're missing it so.
We're missing it. You know, I mean, like I was thinking last year, even it was the first time in my life since being like 14, for the first time when I went out, that I've never been out. I've never been to a concert or a gig or anything, or to a club. You know, it's the first time in my life that I've never had this. You know, and I think that like.
And we are not the young generation.
And we're not, no. So what about young people? I mean, let's move on to we've got like 10 minutes, so let's move on to, you know, the future really. You know, like what kind of like image do we want to leave and give the kids in the future? Because there's kids now who are maybe 17 who've never been to a club before. And so what is the future going to be like? You know, after this pandemic is over and people can go out again, what do you think will be the next step?
Somehow positive in a way, like positive thinking that we found some vaccine and people will. There is a chance if they get the injection, the vaccine, you know, and if they make testing. So we will have club life where people with negative results dance together without mask, you know. They tried it in digital ways, but this doesn't work, I think, you know. You want to touch, you want to see, you want to share information, you want to
smile.
Everybody wants to love each other.
Yeah, and you want to get inspired, you know, and
because that's the whole point of going clubbing, really. You know, it's like to go out and meet people, dance with them, or whatever, and be together. And,
so I see these possibilities, you know, that, and I think also looking back, you know, I always look back, you know, what got on my nerves when I was in the countryside and before I moved to Berlin and here. It is always the fact young people need spaces, physical spaces, for their own experiments, to do something, you know, everywhere, not just Berlin. Berlin could give a lot of experiences to other cities, you know. We have now 30 years experience of club now. Yeah. And we discovered, we developed a format for the night time. Nobody used the night time so intense like we did. You know, we just take the night that was still free, and the night makes everybody so beautiful. You know, it's quiet, it's magic, it's mystery. So I think this will go on. You know, this will go on.
Yeah, I think so. I think like right for the first part after the pandemic is over, there'll be a very heavy. I personally think there'll be a heavy kind of emphasis on the eroticism of going out, because I think young people will want to have that experience of like touching each other and stuff. And I think that is.
Do you speak about erotic movement, maybe?
Kind of like wet and hard.
Wet and
You know,
yeah,
like,
I mean, people like
hard,
to
you know.
touch again, you know, and where is it possible? No,
Yeah.
you know,
And that might change then in a couple of years and morph into something else. But I really think that will be the. You know, people are already talking about, you know, when the pandemic's over and I can finally go clubbing again, I'm going to go to the Kit Kat club and places like that. You know, it's the kind of like image that they have right now, and I think that is the sort of a definite kind of like idea that's kind of circling around young people's heads right now. It's like the idea, the image that they have of what clubbing is going to be.
I think, you know, in a few years we live with Corona, you know, and it will be, we treat it like maybe influenza, grippe. You know, some get an injection, some not.
Yeah.
We some are careful, but we can live with it, I think. It will come. Now it's very intense, and but I think we will manage this problem, and we will dance again, you know.
Yeah, I think so too.
And at the moment it's difficult, but I think already maybe by end of this year, you know, there will be in the summer maybe first open air festival, but by end of the year maybe already club life starts again.
But we'll have to see as well how many people are.
How many people?
People, not the people who are coming to the events, but also the people who were DJs before, club owners before. You know, what are they going to do? You know, they may not be around or not be here, or they might have given up and opened up another business of some sort. So we have to give the younger people the opportunity to, because in a sense it's a bit like when we first came to Berlin in the 70s, right? It was like there wasn't anything happening here then, and then something started because we started something.
Yeah, maybe.
So something new will start and grow out of it, and there's the place like the Tresor, which kind of gives them the platform to be able to experiment, because it's like you said before, it's like a football team. You know, the older players get taken away and replaced by younger players, and that's exactly what's going to be happening. And we have to pander their ideas if they've got any ideas. I don't think anybody wants to kind of like step backwards in time and do the things that people did before, but they want to do something new. And they have new ideas, and they'll bring new ideas along with them. And we're
working on this already. I mean, that is our main team. They're all in the 30s, you know, now. We are more seniors looking back, and sometimes happy to join it. But the night belongs to the youngsters, you know. And this is also a moment where we have to say thank you, you know, for all these people who accompanied us all over the years. You know, so many women and men and diverse, and everybody who maybe joined the Tresor movement, you know. It was so great, you know. Without them, no Tresor, and without Gorbachev, no techno, you know. I must also say, give credit to him, and also credit to the people who believed in this thing, you know, this getting together in these rooms, in these spaces, and to all these promoters, you know, and DJs, artists, you know, who suffer now, you know. I believe it is like the life, like the history of Tresor was always like very authentic with a normal life, you know. Goes up,
goes down,
collapse, you know. Tax investigators collapse again, then come up, you know. This will happen now with COVID also.
Yeah,
now
you have to go up. You have to go down to go up.
Yeah.
You know, you have to appreciate the things. You know, appreciate what you had before, and to look with optimism to the future. You know, I think that you know, life is like that. You know, it's not all a bed of roses. It's not always great, up and up and up. And I think that for that 30 years of techno and 30 years of Tresor, you know, that's quite interesting. I mean, even with its internal ups and downs, you know, it's a really interesting kind of like moniker, really. You know, I think.
And and I must say, we didn't develop to a glamour club or so, you know, because you know.
No glitter
We
balls.
still have this confidence that it will go on. We had to interrupt it, we had to move one time, and it looks still dirty like in the first days, you know. But that's what the people really love, also, you know.
No frills.
Yeah, no thrills.
No frills. No glittery kind of like
No
image and
luxury,
stuff.
no
We call it-
champagne.
No champagne. Yeah.
We call it
Yeah, maybe
high.
champagne, but not at the table.
We call it high trash, you know. And I think it will go on, you know. The desire is so strong, you know. And I think when we open, maybe in 1 month, it will be packed the first night. I mean, we had like 80% of our visitors did not speak German, you know. So, and half of them, they lived in Berlin, and the other half they flew in and flew out. They all gone. They're home, and the other rest who lived in Berlin, the half of them also gone, you know, back home in Spain or in France or in England, and so there are not so many people in town. But we change also our perspective. We want to work with a lot of local, you know, artists or people who live in Berlin in the future. You know?
It's a good choice, really, because it's like, you know, it changes the perspective of the music as well. You know, like gives people you know, you're not looking towards some DJ who's from another country to attract the people. You're looking towards like supporting the local artists. And I think that's really
we start
interesting.
small again, and I think also we'll see what will happen. You know, but we start the club like in the beginning it was less people, you know. Well, we don't expect now the big flood, but I think on the other side it will go on. People love to dance in the dark, you know, and to touch and getting together here and to discover the night, like I did or like we did, you know, when we came to Berlin. So we have to care that Berlin stays free, you know, and guarantees this freedom.
Definitely, yeah. So we're coming close to the end of this little birthday celebration, and it's a real shame that we can't actually have a party in this room that we're sitting in right now. But we're going to have DJs playing after this in her, and I think that's going to be, you know, the best of what we can make out of this situation. And I think, you know, that's also it's a sign of the times. You know? It's a sign of the times.
Turn on your sound system outside if you're home now, you know, and get surprised what's coming in maybe 1 minute or so.
2 minutes.
Yeah. And we definitely will have the party, you know. We wanted to celebrate a great exhibition of Tresor, but we decided now to work for it, but we open it next year, you know, when everything's over in the summer, and then you can discover all the details of our history, and you can find encouragement, you know, to do your own venue or to do something, you know, in this movement. It will be a great thing. We're working hard on it, and this will a moment where we meet again, I think, you know.
For sure, I'll be there. Don't worry. So let's play one last song here before we go.
I think
this is a really special song for me.
it's a smash hit.
It's a smash hit, but it's a special song for me. It kind of sums up this place in one kind of sonic moment.
Sonic Destroyer, you know, from X101. This was a hit that hit all the clubs in Berlin when it came out, and it's by the Jeff Mills and Mike Banks, Robert Hood.
It's iconic because every time I hear it, I'm transported into Tresor when I hear this record, and it's like it brings back such really fascinating memories of this place, you know. Because I was going to say, like when you said, you know, you opened this place, and it was like I thought it was like James Bond.
Okay, thank you, Mark.